the best seats in the house, right in front of the front row, the real front row, as it may be.
The loud band won't be here the whole time. You don't have to worry about your eardrums. No pressure.
Follow your list.
those who couldn't see it, secret's out. And for those of you who couldn't see, these two have been worth the price of admission already. So, my name is Andrew, and I just want, before we start, I want to say a quick show of hands for people who are here for the first time in Judson. Raise your hand if this is your first time in this. Awesome. Awesome. So, just a little background. This is actually a church. It is an active church. It's not just a building that used to be a church. But we're a church that doesn't know how to be a church if we don't invite artists into our space. We believe artists are prophets. They tell us where we've been, they show us who we are, and they show us where we're going. And I think it's safe to say that that can't be more true of the group that is here tonight. So let's give it up for the wonderful couple, Peter!
A mixed up stomach to mixed up circumstances. It is a dialectic non-entity of a word which derives its meaning primarily from its opposite, the word good. Good. Which, in normal life, bad usually overshadows.
Overshadows.
see the word worse, a Teutonic word meaning war. The aggressive response to the aforementioned dialectic indecisiveness. Furthermore, the word worse, meaning war, is invented in that part of the brain which creates hopelessness.
Hopelessness.
In Exhibit C, we see the word worst, the inevitable result of Exhibit B, unimaginable pain. Ouch. 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 As demonstrated by two opposing forces, the terrorists and the horrorists. Exhibit D further expands upon these two opposing forces. The terrorists, who are illegitimate, and the horrorists, who are legitimate. The terrorists promote fear, while the horrorists promote peace and harmony. Ta-da! Peace being the exercise of total military superiority. Ta-da! And harmony being the act of compliance with the exercise of total military superiority. Ta-da! Exhibit E shows us a quantitative comparison between these two opposing forces. The terrorists are shown here as this little cockroach, while the horrorists are shown here as this colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex, to which, coincidentally, the military-industrial complex is genetically related, and in whose footsteps of extinction we can only hope it will soon follow. In conclusion, we have clearly and succinctly demonstrated how, when we turn distress into success, we merely succeed in turning success into further distress. Ta-da! And finally, we see you, the student of success, approaching the door to receive further instruction.
Come in.
And subsequently departing.
Get out!
Back home to mom and dad, who will assuredly suggest that you enroll in a more worthwhile course of study.
Prologue number 2.
The shadows of ice detention.
These are the shadows of the 47,892 people who are currently being held in captivity by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency throughout the so-called United States. This is the shadow of Rumesa Ozturk, Alireza Durudi, Mahmoud Khalil, Laka Kordia, Yunseo Chum, and Mohsan Madawi, some of the hundreds of people who have had their visas revoked and are being detained without criminal charge, or have been deported in direct retaliation for their advocacy of a free Palestine.
And this is the shadow of a tree that refuses to bear leaves.
This is the shadow of the 1,360 children who have never been reunited with their parents or guardians 6 years after being forcibly separated from them by the first Trump regime.
And this is the shadow of a dog that never stops howling.
And these are the shadows of 60 ICE detainees who went on hunger strike in 2024 at the Mesa Verde and Golden State Annex detention facilities over medical neglect, malnutrition, and solitary confinement.
And this is the shadow of a stone with tears running down her face.
This is the shadow of the 238 people who were disappeared to the Terrorism Confinement Center in El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. This is the shadow of Kilmer Abrego Garcia, husband, father of 3, and union worker, who lived peacefully in Maryland for 14 years. He was disappeared in what ICE itself admitted was an administrative error. Originally, Mr. Garcia fled El Salvador, seeking political asylum. He is now trapped, in danger for his life.
And this is the shadow of a barbed wire snake, which is the U.S.-Mexican border. What poet Gloria Anzaldúa calls a bleeding open wound.
This is the shadow of the 53 people who suffocated to death in a sweltering tractor trailer in San Antonio, Texas in 2022 while attempting to evade ICE detention.
And this is the shadow of a cup that holds the tears of their loved ones.
And this is the shadow of a government which capitalizes on the suffering of its own terror by detaining immigrants in for-profit detention centers. A government which seeks to suppress political dissent by holding immigrants without criminal charges.
is the shadow of a sun that refuses to shine till all people are released from ICE detention and ICE is abolished.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
God number one. The obligation to courage. God number two. The obligation to act against the actors of death. God number three. The obligation to plant garlic in the rubble of the empire. God number four. The special God of the day. The obligation to live.
And now, in the presence of the papier-mâché gods, we present The Obligation to Live, a show in 3 parts. Part 1, the present reality.
Water. Food. Medicine. electricity,
Part 2. The Mayan Book of the Dead. The Popol Vuh.
This was the peopling of the face of the earth. They came into being. They multiplied. But there was nothing in their hearts. And nothing in their minds. No memory, no understanding. They became the numerous people there on the face of the earth. But there comes a humiliation. Into the houses come the animals, small and great. Everything spoke. Their cooking pots spoke to them. Pain, that's all you have caused us. Our mouths, our faces are full of ash. Their dogs and their turkeys told them, "You caused us pain. You ate us, but now it is you whom we shall eat. Now they run for it, helter-skelter. They want to climb the trees, but they are thrown off by the trees. They want to hide in caves, but the mouths of the caves close up before their faces. Such was the scattering of human work. The faces of all of them were destroyed. This was the peopling of the face of the earth.
This was the peopling of the face of the earth.
They came into being.
They came into being.
They multiplied.
They multiplied.
But there was nothing in their hearts.
But there was nothing in their hearts.
And nothing in their minds.
And nothing in their minds.
No memory.
No memory.
No memory. No memory.
No understanding.
No understanding.
No understanding.
No understanding.
No understanding.
They became the numerous people there on the face of the earth.
They
became the numerous people.
They became the numerous people
of the earth.
we now present to you, in the presence of the papier-mâché god of the day, the obligation to live, a dedication. To those who succumb in the humanitarian window of horror, to those who gather their families to die together so that no survivor suffers survival alone, to those who scatter their families so that they're not all wiped out from the civil record, to the babies whose death certificates marked their brief presence here on earth before their birth certificates could be issued. They were not given names. To the elderly who endured 1948 and lived to see their descendants erased. To the young born under the sign of siege and are the only members of their families left, will you stand up to form a small nation? To those who died because dialysis was no longer possible, no water, electricity, and fuel. To those who will develop kidney stones and liver damage from unclean water. To those who are maimed and will search for their missing limbs. To those who were killed because they refused to leave their homes to live in tents. To those who were killed in their tents with the cats that they sheltered. To those who were killed in UN shelters and in schools. To those who were killed because they were medics, nurses, doctors, teachers, and the last honest journalists. To those who guard their dead from the starving dogs of war, who are different from the dogs of war that starved them. To those who cannot guard the corpses from rats. To those in a concentration camp the size of a metropolis, the only life they knew. To Jerusalem and Jenin, to Jenin and Jerusalem. To the children who played in the craters that the bombs made if the sand was right. To those who rummaged through the rubble for clothes, gloves, forks, plates, soap, toothpaste, and wooden furniture to burn for cooking and to keep warm. To erased archives that housed centuries, to the pulverized libraries, to St. Porphyrius and the Omari Mosque, to those who recite the verse of return, to those who compose songs and sing them, to the syncopated thuds of annihilation, to those who pray in the pitch-black night to the only power available to them, the power of God, but could not meditate on moon and stars. to those who found a way to fall in love, to make love, to construct a secret rendezvous, construct a romance, construct and hold a wedding, and dream of moon and stars. They will not accept your apology after the genocide, O theology of empire.
And now, we must perform a traditional pleading dance to retrieve the hearts of humanity from the garbage. Part 3, the Possibilitarians.
by the weight of its own logic. Beautiful, naked, damaged reality takes over.
Spirit convinces, ideas persuade, truth shatters.
But the horizon's door has cracked open, and the possible light pours through.
You, exact fragment of totality, join the other fragments.
now an address to the papier-mâché representative of humanity.
Residents, mothers with babies,
Taxpayers!
For what peace or war?
For what defensive brutality?
For
For
what
mass grave?
for how many
Killed healthcare workers.
For what brand new atrocity?
Atrocity
Produced by the correct
the
civilization
correct civilization
and its correct morality.
Its correct
morality.
How will we survive? So many kids, smashed limbs, and their families, shattered lives.
How will our proud little humanity survive this ultimate horror?
How can we invent
Meaningful speech.
Meaningful speech.
meaningful speech?
To penetrate the frozen ears
The frozen ears of the horrorist empire.
How can we invent meaningful speech to penetrate the frozen ears of the horrorist empire?
Evil is beyond comprehension
beyond comprehension
and is the manipulated human soul's rotting self.
And no mother's tears will suffice.
We, the sheep,
we the sheep of the boss system
Are thereby
The sheep of the abyss.
are kicking
And marching.
and screaming.
are kicking and marching and breathing and shouting
must save.
The little bits of soul that we are granted.
We, unwanted dreams and aspirations of life's rightness.
and right living
Against the farce of the correct civilization and its correct immorality.
Immorality.
all we work and make
Of the forever and its sky.
the sky, and earth children of the earth.
Our ashes will be mixed
with the ashes
of our sisters and brothers who they buried underneath the rubble.
Ashes will rise from the rubble and are obliged to change forever the crippled humanity under the rubble.
Because
we insist.
Because we insist.
Finish.
Insist on the real life in the face of the fake life.
Because we insist on not being finished. Insist on the real life in the face of the fake life.
and its crippled humanity. And its rotten hypocrisy and the correct civilization.
And now, we must bring in the Possibilitarian storm to retrieve the minds of humanity from the garbage. finally, we conclude by performing the necessary resurrection service for the children deprived of a future by a horrorist empire deprived of humanity.
Yes, there will be revolution. Then there will be revolution. Then once more, the earth itself will turn and cry out. Oh, I have been made sick. Then you, my little bud, must flower and save it. Yes, there will be revolution. Then there will be revolution. Then once more, the earth itself will turn and cry. Oh, I have been made sick. Then you, my little bud, and save it. Melissa, Maggie, Benjun, Natalia, and Cara, and everyone at Judson for having us year after year. Thank you so much. Thank you to Andrew and Sarah for feeding us so well today. This is our 16th show on a month-long tour. Tomorrow we will be again here. After tomorrow we will be in Hopewell. And after that in Philadelphia. So please check our website and tell your friends. See you there. Oh well. We will now serve bread and aioli. Right here, the press store, the Tip Art Emporium will be open for your perusal. And last but not least, we at Bread and Puppet still believe in one great nation, and that is the donation. So please visit a hat in your way out if you're able. Thank you so much for coming tonight.